Most creators will never tell you this. Some of the most profitable content businesses on the internet are built using other people's content, legally, ethically, and extremely profitably. In fact, this exact system generates about $35,000 per month for me. And no, it doesn't involve stealing videos, it doesn't involve copying scripts, and it definitely doesn't involve re-uploading someone else's work. What it involves is transformation, taking information that already exists and turning it into something more valuable, more structured, more insightful, more understandable. And if you stay with me, I'm going to show you exactly how this system works. Because once you understand it, you'll start seeing it everywhere. Behind successful YouTube channels, behind profitable newsletters, behind media companies that publish thousands of pieces of content every year. But first, let me ask you something. How many hours have you spent trying to create original content that went nowhere? How many times have you written a script, edited a video, uploaded it, and it barely reached a few hundred views? Meanwhile, someone else publishes something similar, and it explodes. That frustration isn't random, it's a signal. Because most creators think their job is to produce more content, but the real opportunity is creating more value. And value rarely comes from inventing information. It comes from organizing it. Let me explain. The internet runs on 3 types of people: creators, curators, and translators. Creators produce something new. Curators filter what matters. Translators take complex information and make it understandable. This business model sits right in the middle of those roles. It's not copying, it's transformation. And transformation creates leverage. Here's why this works. Every single day, the world produces an overwhelming amount of information. Research papers, financial reports, news articles, expert interviews, podcasts, government publications, industry data. The problem isn't a lack of information. The problem is overload. People are drowning in content, but starving for clarity. And that gap between information and clarity is where the opportunity exists, because the people who connect the dots become incredibly valuable. Now, before we go further, we need to make something very clear. There's a massive difference between copying content and transforming it. Copying is lazy. It's re-uploading someone else's video, clipping someone else's work, reposting their script. That's not a business. That's a liability. Transformation is different. Transformation means you add something that wasn't there before. Context, explanation, narrative, analysis, insight, perspective. When those layers exist, the result becomes something new. And that's the principle behind this entire system. Now let's talk about where the content actually comes from. Everything begins with sourcing. There are 4 main places I get content from. The first is public domain material. These include government reports, historical documents, speeches, lectures, and media, where copyright protection has expired. When something enters the public domain, it can be reused freely. The second category is licensed material. Some creators release work under Creative Commons licenses. Universities publish lectures. Research institutions release datasets. Many of these resources allow reuse with proper attribution. The third source is partnerships. Smaller creators are often open to collaboration. Sometimes it's exposure, sometimes it's revenue sharing. Either way, it becomes mutually beneficial. And the fourth source, which is one of the most powerful, is synthesis. This means gathering information from multiple sources: news articles, research papers, expert interviews, financial reports, and building a completely new narrative around them. Journalists do this every day. Researchers do this every day. When done responsibly, this becomes legitimate content. But sourcing is only the first step. The real value comes from transformation. I use a simple framework for this. 3 layers: selection, structure, and insight. Selection means choosing what actually matters. The internet is full of noise. Filtering the signal is your first value. Structure is the second layer. Facts alone don't keep people watching. Stories do. When information becomes a narrative, people stay engaged. And the third layer is insight. Your interpretation, your conclusions, your explanation of why this matters. That's what makes the content yours. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine creating a video about an economic trend. You might gather a government report, a research paper, 2 expert interviews, and a financial news article. Now, instead of summarizing each one, you build a narrative. You start with tension. Most people think the economy is improving, but one signal suggests the opposite. Then you introduce the evidence. You explain the mechanism. You connect it to real-world consequences. Then you zoom out and explain the bigger picture. That's transformation, and transformation creates value. Now let's talk about where artificial intelligence fits into this process. AI doesn't replace thinking. It accelerates the repetitive parts. It can summarize sources, extract key insights, organize research, generate structured outlines. But the strategic decisions still come from you. The thesis, the narrative, the interpretation. AI can generate words, but judgment still belongs to the human. Once the script is ready, production becomes simple. Voiceovers can be recorded personally, outsourced, or generated using AI narration tools. Visuals don't need to be complicated. Most successful educational channels rely on simple formats: stock footage, charts, screenshots, minimal animation, clean typography. Clarity beats complexity every single time. Once the content is produced, it gets distributed across multiple platforms: YouTube, newsletters, podcasts, blogs. Each platform adds another monetization layer. YouTube generates ad revenue. Newsletters attract sponsorships. Blogs generate affiliate commissions. Podcasts attract brand partnerships. When these streams stack together, the income becomes predictable. And here's the powerful part: the content compounds. A video published today can generate revenue for years. A newsletter article can generate affiliate sales months later. A podcast episode can keep attracting listeners indefinitely. This turns your content into a media library instead of disposable posts. Now let me show you what a simple weekly workflow could look like. Day 1, choose a topic with proven demand. Day 2, collect 5 to 10 reliable sources. Day 3, summarize the sources and find the core narrative. Day 4, write the script and add commentary. Day 5, produce the video, then repurpose it. Turn the script into a newsletter. Turn the audio into a podcast. Turn key insights into short-form clips. One idea, multiple pieces of content. That's how systems scale. But there's another advantage most people overlook: authority leverage. When you curate information from credible sources and explain it clearly, you borrow credibility. Not by pretending to be an expert, but by becoming the person who connects the dots. Audiences trust people who simplify complexity. Trust leads to engagement. Engagement leads to watch time. Watch time leads to algorithmic promotion. And promotion leads to growth. Now pause for a moment and think about this. What would happen if instead of creating every piece of content from scratch, you built a system? A system where information becomes raw material. And your job is to transform it into clarity. Because clarity is incredibly valuable. $35,000 per month is not magic. It's the result of a repeatable system. Curate intelligently. Transform meaningfully. Explain clearly. Publish consistently. Over time, that system becomes an asset. Because the internet does not reward the people who create the most noise. It rewards the people who create the most clarity. And if you become the person who connects the dots, the audience will follow. And when the audience follows, the revenue eventually does too. Original content will always be valuable, but interpretive content, when done right, can be just as powerful. Because people don't just want information. They want understanding. They want context. They want someone to explain what actually matters. If you give them that, the business takes care of itself. So study content legally, curate it ethically, transform it intelligently, and build systems that reward consistency. Because the future doesn't belong to the people who create the most content. It belongs to the people who create the most value.